I do not talk about this often, but something I witnessed when I was younger has stuck with me like a shadow. It happened on the way back from a day trip with my folks. We were driving down this steep, curvy mountain road, the kind that makes your ears pop and your stomach feel weird. As we were taking it slow around one of the bends, this car zooms past us. All the windows are rolled down, music blasting, and 4 teenagers are halfway out the windows yelling and laughing, acting wild. They were swerving a bit too, just goofing off, messing around. My dad muttered something about kids asking for trouble, and just like that, they vanished down the road ahead of us. About 10 minutes later, we came around a sharp bend and saw a group of people standing by a broken guardrail. That same car had gone off the side of the road, crashed through the barrier, and landed upside down in a rocky ravine. It was a long drop. My mom used to work as an emergency medical technician, so she immediately told my dad to stop the car. She climbed out and started making her way down to see if she could help. Then, the whole thing exploded. No warning, just a huge fireball. The car was instantly engulfed in flames. We heard the tires bursting. We heard the screaming. And it didn't stop quickly. The car was jammed so deep into the rocks that there was no way anyone could safely get close. People tried anyway. Some climbed down, others shouted. But there was nothing, absolutely nothing that could be done. We just stood there and watched it burn. We waited until the fire department and paramedics finally arrived. They cleared us to leave about an hour later. But I will never forget standing there for 60 long minutes, watching that wreck burn to nothing but ash, watching people struggle to help, knowing it was hopeless. The sound, the smell, the screaming. Those kids were probably only a few years older than I was at the time. It has been over 20 years now, and I have lived twice the life they ever got to have. So yeah, drive safe. I mean it. I still think about it sometimes. And even more than that, I think about their parents, the ones who waited for their kids to come home and never got to. Yeah, I mean, thank God some of these people did not stay together for the kids. But even then, some choices are just a mess no matter how you look at it. Take my dad, for example. After nearly 30 years of marriage, 4 kids, a house, a solid retirement, he just walked away from it all. Divorced my mom and fell head over heels for some woman halfway across the world in the Philippines. They had never even met in person at first. He found her online, told us she was his second chance at happiness. Turns out, she was mainly interested in getting a visa to Australia and dragging her 2 kids along for the ride. My dad emptied out his savings trying to make it all work. Lost the house, the car, every dime he had tucked away for retirement. And here is the crazy part, my grandfather did the exact same thing years earlier. Different woman, same story, lost everything. Only his situation ended even worse. The woman he was with passed away from cancer, and now her grown kids are just bleeding him dry. The man is alone, broke, and probably does not have much time left. No family close, no support. Some folks really do just walk off the cliff of life, eyes wide open. Speaking of bad judgment, I was once riding a city bus when some guy decided to cut us off just before a red light. We were slowing down, and the bus driver muttered, "Hold on. This guy is a complete idiot." Next thing I know, bam, we slam into the back of his pickup, and that thing smashes right into a light pole on the far side of the intersection. Total chaos. Definitely a 0 out of 10 experience. Would not recommend. It reminded me of something from high school. Our bus got hit when a guy ran a red light. He got T-boned hard. His truck spun completely around and came to a stop facing the wrong way. The rear axle was ripped clean off. The bus barely had a scratch, but the driver of that truck and 2 kids from our bus got hauled off in ambulances. I only woke up because of the impact. I had been taking a nap, and the sudden jolt snapped me right out of it. This all happened in Florida, of course. And then there is my grandfather. The man has been through hell and back, fought in 2 wars, was nearly crushed in a truck accident, and watched his wife slowly disappear from Alzheimer's. But the one thing that still haunts him, a factory accident. He used to work in a metal plant, and one day some of the guys were goofing around messing with equipment they should not have been touching. They forgot to lock something in place, and the whole thing blew out. A stream of molten metal poured down right over them, killed 4 workers. My granddad saw the whole thing happen, and I swear that moment cracked something inside of him. Even now, he wakes up screaming from nightmares. That memory lives deeper in him than any war ever did. She says she is not cheating, but she has taken solo trips abroad, made out with random guys, and now she might be pregnant. Her husband had a vasectomy a while back, so if she ends up having a baby, well, let us just say that would raise some serious questions. I have seen a lot of folks make choices that end in disaster. Like some friends of mine, they had a beautiful home, really nice place. They sold it during a dip in the real estate market because they were afraid prices were going to crash even further, took a big loss. Then just months later, the neighborhood gentrified. Their old place tripled in value. It was like one of those panic sales in RuneScape. They freaked out and sold low, only to watch the value skyrocket right after. It reminds me of another story I heard. A couple bought land at a house in a growing area in Montana. Tourist cash and new money were flooding in. The wife, though, was not happy. She wanted to be in Las Vegas instead. So, in protest, she decked out the house in loud neon colors just to prove a point. Eventually, she wore her husband down. They listed the property for $500,000, the price they had paid, but with that wild paint job, nobody bit. They took it off the market and sat on it for a couple of years. Then 2008 hit. Real estate tanked. In a panic, they practically gave the place away for $125,000. 16 acres, a water source, multiple outbuildings, all sold for a quarter of what it was worth. Funny twist, though my best friend and her husband were the ones who bought it. They had been dreaming about that land for years. Took her nearly a full year to paint over all that neon nonsense, but now they are thriving. Moral of the story, never panic sell, especially if you have terrible taste in decorating. I have another buddy who met a girl on one of those dating apps. I think it was in Cupid or something like that. After just 3 dates, she decided to quit her job and move in with him. She lived an hour away, too. About 3 months in, he and I were having beers and he starts venting. Tells me she is controlling, manipulative, toxic, the works. Says he is planning to break up with her. Then boom, she gets pregnant. So he does what he thinks is the right thing. Proposes. They get married. Next time I saw him, he had a duffel bag slung over his shoulder and showed up at my place needing a place to crash. They had a huge blow-up fight. What about? She had open-palmed their toddler across the face. Yeah, the kid was only 1 year old. I do not see my friend much anymore, but I know he is stuck in something dark. And unfortunately, it is not the only story like that. I know a woman pregnant again who is already fighting to get her other kids back from the state. She lost custody after being caught using meth, while her kids were unsupervised. One time, the police found her 4-year-old and 2-year-old wandering down a busy road, both of them naked because Mommy was too sleepy to get us food. Too sleepy. Yeah. She used to lock them in a room and sleep off whatever drug she was on. The older one figured out how to unlock the door. That is how they got out. The 4-year-old still was not potty trained. Eventually, a relative on the dad's side took him in. The 2-year-old was taken by child services. Last I heard, she is still using, and pregnant again. In court, when they asked why she was only fighting for one of her kids, her response was basically, well, the younger one is not my blood, so they should have taken him too. That is how far gone she island. And then there is the story my stepbrother told me happened years ago in Cincinnati. He was driving downtown and suddenly shouted, "Did you see that?" No one in the car believed him. He had seen a guy fall from a tall apartment building, one we actually used to live in. Turns out, The man was showing off some kind of rooftop trick for guests. So, that guy my stepbrother saw falling? Yeah, apparently he used to do this all the time, a stunt. I guess where he would do a handstand on the edge of his 25th floor balcony, just showing off. That time, he slipped. Fell straight down, 25 floors. Died instantly. I looked it up later. Happened in 2005. Still gives me chills. Then there was my cousin. She planned this massive wedding. Cost around $90,000. Her grandpa actually offered to put that money toward a house instead. But nope. She wanted the wedding. Big show. Flashy. Over the top. She had been a sorority girl and basically lived for the attention. They split up before the year was over. Total waste. I skipped the wedding. And honestly, I do not regret it. The open bar might have been crazy, but the whole thing just felt like a performance. And you know, there was this guy I knew back in high school. He was a year behind me. Smart guy. Funny. People liked him. After I graduated, I moved away, and about a year later, I was back visiting family and ran into him again. He had dropped out, had a baby with his girlfriend, and was living with her parents, working at a gas station. I have not heard about him in nearly 20 years. I really hope things worked out for him. Not all stories end that softly, though. Take my aunt about a year ago. She just unraveled, quit her job for no clear reason, and started drinking a lot. Her whole day became a cycle of sitting in a recliner and pounding liquor. She stopped taking care of her kids entirely. It got bad enough that my other aunt had to step in and take the kids away. But it did not stop there. She spiraled, started sleeping around for drugs, eventually ended up staying in shelters, living rough. Now she is engaged to some 2-3-year-old guy who, by all accounts, beats her. She is 49, her oldest daughter is 25, and she refuses to see her kids, acts like nothing is wrong, thinks this guy is just protective when everyone else sees what is really going on. None of us really know what triggered it. Maybe it was a midlife breakdown, maybe something deeper, but whatever it was, she let it take everything from her. To make things worse, my grandmother passed away recently. We all tried to get in touch with that aunt, call her, message her, anything. No response. She only found out after Grandma was already gone. It has been rough. Another friend of mine, sweet girl, but she has a habit of dating the worst guys. One time, she started seeing this dude who gave me a seriously bad vibe. Just off. A few months in, she calls me. She is pregnant. She has been kicked out of her place. And surprise, this guy is a convicted felon. He told her he was sterile. Turns out, he just could not stand using condoms. They have a kid now. She says she has caught him on dating apps and even putting up Craigslist posts looking for sex more than once. I have seen some dark stuff. I remember stopping by this trap house one time to grab some weed and saw a woman shoot up a mix of heroin and cocaine right there on the couch, trashy as hell. What made it worse, some random guy walked in and once she was done, asked, "Mind if I use that?" Same needle, same spot on his arm. That image has never left my brain. Mixing heroin and coke like that one pulls your body down while the other sends your heart racing. It is like asking for your organs to tear in half. Back in high school in Los Angeles, we had speakers come in to talk about HIV and AIDS. A guy, a recovering addict, stood up and told us he used to warn people before sharing needles that he was HIV positive. Most of them didn't care. They used the same needle anyway, just to get their fix. And hearing it like that, from someone who lived it, it hits different. That level of desperation, it is hard to imagine until you see it up close. And, well, my own story took a hit too. After our first child was born, my wife had a complete emotional breakdown, started drinking again after 10 years sober. Quiet at first, hard liquor, hidden bottles. Then she turned on me, said I was the reason for all of her pain, asked for space, then separation. and not long after, divorce. My ex-wife still struggles to stay sober. Honestly, I am scared that in the years ahead we might lose custody of our son. And I think, deep down, she'll eventually look back and realize what she threw away a partner who stood by her and loved her when things got rough. I once watched a married couple try to fix their rocky relationship by having a baby. You can probably guess how that went. It didn't fix anything. All it did was drag a child into the mess. And now, that little girl gets to grow up watching her parents split up before she even understands what it all means. Worst part? One of the parents openly says right in front of her that they never even wanted another kid. Bringing a child into the world is not some bandage you slap over a broken relationship. If anything, it is the ultimate stress test. And these folks definitely failed it. And man, I get it. When my own kid was born, those few months surrounding the birth were the most brutal of my life. Everything hit us all at once. I got laid off. Then I landed a new job that required training across the country. While I was away, my wife had to be rushed to the emergency room with pregnancy complications. She needed an emergency cesarean section. I flew back as fast as I could. Our child came 2 months early and had to stay in the neonatal intensive care unit for a month. In the middle of all that, our air conditioner broke down twice during a brutal Florida summer. Both of our cars stopped working. And then, our house flooded. 4 rooms were completely gutted. The stress got so bad our cat started peeing in random places. It felt like everything in our lives was falling apart at once. Somehow, we made it through. But that stretch, that was our trial by fire. Speaking of breakdowns back in my hometown, there was this recent news story that blew up. A high school dean of students went out one night and made every bad decision possible. He hits a strip club, gets drunk, starts getting handsy with one of the dancers. Bouncers step in and offer to call him a cab. Easy out. He refuses. Sticks around and grabs another dancer. Cops get called. Now, the club does not want to press charges. The cops just want him to leave. They offer him a ride home. Simple. But no. The guy starts shouting at them, then actually shoves one of the officers. Gets tased. Arrested. Loses his job. Name in the papers. Reputation trashed. All because he could not take 3 separate opportunities to just go home. Drugs, they wreck people too. My cousin, for example. She has 6 kids. Lost custody of 4 of them. 3 different fathers in the mix. My grandma, God bless her, tried to help. Paid the rent and utility bills for a small place so they could move back to town, get jobs, and start over. But my cousin and her husband refused to get real work. They only wanted cash gigs under the table so they would not lose their food stamps. Complained constantly about the free house. Cranked the air conditioning so high that my grandma, who was paying the bills, was getting slammed with charges. At one point, my legally blind grandma drove over there just to check on them. They had stopped answering phone calls. And when she got there, they refused to let her inside. Then they called the cops on her. Yeah, let that sink in. After that, my cousin started spiraling. Accused nearly every male in the family of abuse, including my dad, a man who was a saint, loved by everyone. At that point, he was dying from Lou Gehrig's disease. She even started messaging people from my mom's Facebook friends list, pretending to be her, begging for money. She asked me for cash once, too. I was broke, a college sophomore barely scraping by, but I saw through it, told her no. My family gave her chance after chance. But after all the lies and the way she treated the only people trying to help, they cut her off. For good. That's what drugs do. They make people torch every bridge they have. And then there was this story from 1975. My dad had just inherited $100,000 from a distant relative. Today, that would be worth about $500,000. His brother, my uncle, pitched him a business idea. Said they should move down to Myrtle Beach and open a golf cart business. Back then, golf tourism was starting to explode in that area. Golf carts were in huge demand. My uncle was sure it would blow up. But my dad thought it was too risky, said no. So, instead of investing, he put the money somewhere else. So, what did my dad do with that $100,000? He bought a house. It was safe, comfortable, seemed smart at the time. Flash forward to today, my uncle, the one who pitched the golf cart idea, he sold that same business in Myrtle Beach for just over $5 million. By then, he had grown it into one of the biggest suppliers of golf carts in the entire region, Myrtle Beach, Conway, you name it. And that's just the sale price. Over 30 years in business, he made several million more in profit along the way. To this day, my dad still talks about it, still shakes his head, still calls it the one that got away. I knew this girl once, sweet, charming, the kind of person who made you feel like the world was not such a heavy place, but she had a rough past with drugs and alcohol. Seemed like she was doing okay for a while, until she wasn't. Got caught up in pills, Adderall, Flexeril, Tramadol, Zoloft, Clonazepam all at once. Started slipping at work, missing hours, calling in last minute. I planned to sit her down and have a real talk, lay it all out for her, tell her she needed to get her life back on track. But when I met up with her, she brought a friend. So I held back. Figured I'd wait for a better moment. 3 days later, she crashed her car. All the pill bottles were in the glove box. Someone else got badly hurt. Now, she is facing possible jail time. Lost her job, cut ties with most of her friends, just curled up inside herself and vanished. I still think maybe if I had said something that night, maybe it would have changed something. But now, it is too late for what-ifs. She always seemed fragile, even before all that. Comes from a deeply religious family, conservative, the kind that believes you can pray away the gay. They even sent her to one of those camps when she came out. So yeah, I think the drugs were more about numbing something deeper. There were wounds long before the pills. Sometimes, though, a wild decision works out. One of my buddies met a woman while he was overseas at a wedding, of all places. It was the last night of his trip, and something just clicked between them. Next morning, he cancels his flight. Stays in a foreign country with no job, no place to live, almost no cash, and a tourist visa. All to chase after someone he just met. Everyone thought he had lost it. That was 5 years ago. They are engaged now. So, yeah, maybe it was reckless, but sometimes the universe rewards the leap. Funny enough, I am in kind of the same situation now. Spent a few months working in New Zealand, took a trip, met a girl from Germany. She ended up crashing in my hotel for 5 days straight. And now, I'm standing on the edge of doing the same thing, dropping everything to follow a feeling. Your story definitely isn't helping my self-control, man. Not all love stories end with a ring, though. One of my friends got her boyfriend's initials tattooed on her wrist 2 months into dating. 2 months. Fast forward a couple years, he dropped out of college, broke down her bedroom door during a fight, and his only buddy was a klepto who stole her prescription meds and tried to steal her car. She finally left him, got the tattoo removed. Good for her. But some folks go darker. One of my exes carved my initials into her own wrist with a broken shard of glass, then came to find me at the campus library glass, still bloody in her hand, asking me to return the favor. Wanted me to carve her initials into mine. I was out of there before she could even finish the sentence. And then there was my cousin's mom, or I guess technically my great aunt. She left her husband for another guy before the divorce papers were even signed. Not long after, there was some kind of confrontation between the two men. Things got heated. The new boyfriend shot her husband in the back of the head. He was dead before anyone could even dial 911. And that husband, he was one of the kindest, most decent people I have ever known. I never found out what caused their split in the first place. But that man did not deserve to go out like that. And the shooter, he did not run. He placed the gun on the hood of his car and waited for the cops to show up, claimed it was self-defense. But you shoot someone in the back of the head? That man was walking away. I used to work as a hospice nurse, and I will never forget one of the most brutal deaths I ever witnessed. The patient was 103 years old. It was her time, no doubt about that. But the way she went, that should never happen to anyone. She was moaning, crying out, thrashing in the bed, completely unable to speak, but clearly in pain. Everyone on staff knew it. We pleaded with her medical power of attorney, a guy who used to be a flight attendant, of all things, to let us give her comfort medication. You know what he said? She's dying. She can't talk. So how do we know she's in pain? If she can't say it, it's not real. This man never even visited her, not once. 2 different doctors called him directly, urging him to allow the meds. Still, he refused, like he knew better than medical professionals. In the end, all we were allowed to give her was Motrin. We had to get the pharmacist to compound it into a rectal suppository. Barely worked. Did not absorb well. But it was better than nothing. There was no dignity in her passing. None. To this day, I hate that man. Back in my college days, sophomore year, I made what might still be the dumbest decision of my life. I had a huge final the next morning, one of those required classes for my major, and I had barely attended all semester. My grades were already hanging by a thread. So I came up with a brilliant plan. I got a Vivance from a friend, figured I'd stay up all night, cram everything I needed, ace the test, and fix my GPA. I took the pill, sat down at my desk, and decided to play 1 game of FIFA to warm up my brain. That turned into 4, then 5. I told myself I'd quit when I lost. Well, I did not lose. By the time I looked at the clock, it was 5:30 in the morning. I had played somewhere between 20 and 30 matches in a row undefeated. Panic hit me like a truck. I opened my stats textbook for what was probably the 2nd time that semester and tried to study. But the Vivance was wearing off. I crashed, hard. I passed out for 2 hours, woke up at 9 a.m. with a 9:30 exam. I had studied for maybe 45 minutes, slept 2 hours, played FIFA for 8, failed the test, failed the class, had to change my major, all because I got high and decided to just play till I lose. Then there was this guy I worked with, sweet dude, kinda quiet, really thoughtful. He was planning to propose to his girlfriend and had picked out a nice 3/4 carat solitaire ring. Could not afford to buy it outright, so he put it on layaway. He wanted to wait until everything was perfect before he popped the question. Well, she got a job at the same place. She snooped around and found out about the ring. And instead of being excited, she went to the store and canceled the layaway, said the ring was hideous and that she would never wear something so cheap looking. She made him put a 1.5 carat ring on layaway instead. And then, she mocked him all day at work, told everyone about it. Bragged about making him cry, which she did, several times right there on the job. His parents begged him not to marry her, especially after she stood up during a family dinner and announced that if he didn't land a 6-figure salary after college, she was gone. He married her anyway. Last I heard, they moved back near his family so he could work for his dad. She used to talk about his parents like they were garbage, so I can only imagine how that is going. She came from money, her stepdad had cash, and she never got over losing that lifestyle. Constantly talked about this $80,000 wedding dress she was going to buy. One of a kind, she said. We all told him she was toxic. He always had an excuse for her. She once told me straight-faced that she was going to spend 80 grand on her wedding dress. I laughed, right in her face. Not out of cruelty, just disbelief. See, my husband proposed with a ring that cost $200. We had already talked about marriage for months. We were aligned, connected. That ring? It was simple, beautiful, and I adored it. He saved up and, on our second wedding anniversary, surprised me with a slightly larger ring. Gold band. Same style, just a little more sparkle. Our whole wedding? $2,500. And it was perfect. She scoffed when I told her that, rolled her eyes, acted like I had confessed to eating out of a dumpster or something. And that was the moment I realized without a doubt that she might be my least favorite person I have ever met. And let me tell you, I have met a lot of terrible people,